Eagle 98.1 Game Day is on.
Presented by your Super Chevy dealers and Home Bank. Good for business, good for life.
This is LSU football.
First down and 10. Johnson going for the home run ball to the end zone. It's a jump ball over the top. Deion Smith has it. Touchdown, Fighting Tigers. Two receivers right, two to the left. Johnson steps back, 3 steps, launches towards the end zone. Grab, held on to. Jack Mesh has it. Touchdown, Fighting Tigers.
LSU football on Eagle 98.1, the flagship home of the Tigers. Today, from Davis Wade Stadium in Starkville, it's the LSU Tigers and the Mississippi State Bulldogs.
Now, live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studios, here's Matt Moscona and Jeremy Hill.
Good morning and welcome to Eagle 98.1 Game Day. I'm Matt Moscona. Jeremy Hill will join me shortly. Sports fans love their numbers. 56. Joe DiMaggio's legendary hitting streak. 28-3. Of course, the lead the Falcons blew in the Super Bowl. 87. The number of fake national titles that Alabama claims. All right, that one was a slight exaggeration. A number of LSU fans wish were an exaggeration. 623. The number of passing yards the Tigers allowed a season ago to Mississippi State, which of course was an SEC record. All SEC fans likely feared that type of day was possible when Mike Leach came into the league. Few likely thought it would happen in his debut. That game remains the high watermark of Leach's time in Starkville. The Bulldogs would lose to Arkansas a week later, finish just 3-7. And they're 2-1 to start this season, which includes a loss last week to Memphis. LSU, meanwhile, has still been trying to find itself since that afternoon in Baton Rouge last September. The Tigers are just 5-6 against Power 5 opponents since that day, and an early season loss to UCLA with many of those same defensive blemishes coming to the surface again makes today's ball game a legitimate measuring stick. Has LSU improved from a season ago? Is Durante Jones ready to match wits with some of the best offensive minds in college football? Do the Tigers still have their flag firmly planted among the hierarchy of the SEC? LSU will have to answer that question today without the nation's best cover corner. By now, you probably know Derek Stingley Jr. is very questionable for the game. Not exactly the ideal opponent to be down a difference maker in the secondary. But Stingley's absence creates opportunity, the same way that Christian Fulton's absence in 2017 created an opportunity for Greedy Williams, or Drew Bledsoe's absence created an opportunity for Tom Brady, or Wally Pipp's absence created an opportunity for Lou Gehrig. You get the idea. So, who wipes the sleep out of their eyes this morning and steps up today for the Tigers in Starkville? In just a few short hours, we'll have that answer. So pour that first cup of coffee. It's the Tigers and the Bulldogs, and we're counting you down right here on the Eagle 98.1 Game Day.
During these challenging times, we know your healthcare needs don't stop. Cancer, accidents, injuries, and heart disease are relentless. So we are relentlessly innovating to keep you safe, both virtually and in person, connecting you with providers remotely, advancing clinical spaces, providing rapid and accurate testing, social distancing, and certified cleaning protocols. We are Auctioner, and we will not slow down. Auctioner Health, innovating healthcare.
The saying goes, desperate times call for desperate measures. But Louisiana heat is nothing to play with. AC outages hurt everyone. Don't be a victim. Call Accutemp and schedule your maintenance check today.
Are you a licensed contractor? There's lots of good contractors in Louisiana doing work the right way, but unfortunately, too many unlicensed contractors are working outside the licensing requirements. Working as a contractor in Louisiana requires a license for the company doing the work. The Louisiana State Licensing Board for Contractors wants to help you get licensed to allow you to conduct work legally. It's not difficult to get the license. We can help you. Go to lacontractor.org for more information. Licensed contractors, it's the law.
During times of trouble, hope keeps us calm, and courage keeps us strong. Here in Louisiana, we know this better than most. After all, we've faced hardship, but hurricanes and floods never washed away what makes us strong. It's our culture, the spirit of resilience that says rise and rise up again. We'll make it through the tough times, we always do. And Blue Cross will always be here to support you.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to
Eagle 98.1.
Welcome back, Eagle 98.1 Game Day, presented by your local Super Chevy dealers and Home Bank. Matt Moscona, now joined by former Tiger great Jeremy Hill. Good morning.
Good morning, man. It's an early one.
How does it feel for you? First time, your first foray into morning radio?
First cup of coffee. I might have to put a couple more down before we finish with this thing.
Right. It never gets easy, man. Like my first job in radio was morning radio. And when those like 3:30 a.m. wake-up calls come for like a 5 a.m. or 5:30 a.m. show, that's brutal. That never gets easier. So I'm quite content being an afternoon guy. Let's start with a couple of news items here. And look, LSU's health and then eligibility has been a talking point. What we know, of course, about Derek Stingley, and we also got a report last evening from Wilson Alexander, the advocate. We've been waiting on eligibility news about LSU running back John Emery. His attorney, Don Jackson, had expressed a confidence that Emery's case being heard Thursday, they would get a result on Friday. And candidly, people around LSU thought they were going to get good news and Emery was going to be available today. Turns out the NCAA has pushed it into next week. So they asked for clarification. I'm reading from Wilson Alexander's report. Clarification late Friday on a plan designed to keep Emery in good academic standing. So you haven't had Emery yet this year, but I'll ask it in this way. How big of a loss do you think it is not having Emery in this game in particular?
Man, you would love to have him back out there. I think it's a big loss. Really this year we haven't seen much of everyone keeps talking about 2019. We haven't seen much backs out of the backfield, just, being that matchup nightmare. We all saw Clyde against Alabama. That's something that we haven't seen this year. Jack Bech has kind of taken that role, the security blanket role, but as far as just a back coming out of the backfield catching passes, I feel like Emery was primed to do that this season, and he's really one of the only guys on the roster I feel like who can hit his head on the goalpost from anywhere on the field. He has the speed to do it, so that would extremely help our run game out, especially the averages we have thus far this season. So big blow, but hopefully next week we can get some clarity.
I mean, right in the midst of this 5-game SEC stretch before your open date in late October, you would love to have all hands on deck. I did want to ask with respect to it's tough, right? Because he hasn't played this year, so it's hard to say, well, what are you really missing? And we haven't seen a giant breakout from John Emery yet in his career. Last year against Vanderbilt, he was sensational, but it was also Vanderbilt. But we know he's got that home run potential. I guess I look at it from the standpoint where he's got – John Emery may not put together a game or hasn't yet where it would be that 20 carry for $156 and 3 scores type day, but he does have the ability to take any carry, any catch to the house. And in a game like this where you're looking at a spread that's 2.5, you could be in a 1-score game. Like, that's the kind of play where I go, man, I'd love to have that guy on the field because you never know if he could slip one and bust it.
Yeah, that's what I said from the beginning. He can hit his head on the goalpost from anywhere on the field. And when you look at our rushing numbers and our averages and yards per carry, those type of plays are what helped set tremendously. And I think, going into the season, I thought he'd be the breakout running back.
Yeah, me too.
I did not think it would be TDP, and we're kind of seeing that kind of rear its ugly head right now. And missing Embry, I think it's going to hurt us for now. But I think if we can get Armani Goodwin back up and running, and then Kiner seems like he's coming alive, it may not be that big of a blow, but right now it's just not looking great for that running back room. We got to get some more production out of that room.
Do you think Kiner is having success? So we've talked about this week, where he was, the last 2 weeks he's been really good late in games, and I'm looking at going, okay, is that because he's fresh legs late in the game and his running style against sort of a worn down defense just works, or is he showing that he's just got a little bit different skill set that he needs to be getting more touches? That seems to be the sentiment among fans. Like, they want to see more Corey Kiner.
Yeah, I just think Corey has a little more juice to him. He just has he runs with a little more anger. It's like someone, put something in his breakfast that he didn't want to have. He comes out there and it just looks like he has a different type of determination. I'm not saying TDP doesn't have that, but right now I'm just not seeing that juice from TDP. So I think Corey brings that different type of juice. You see him spin moving people, stiff arming people to the ground. Those are just plays I haven't seen from TDP just yet. So I think you got to give him more opportunities till he shows you something different.
Man, if your offensive line isn't going to create holes, you better have someone that can make a guy miss or run a guy over, and he's certainly shown that opportunity so far. Let's flip it over to the other side, because we do have to talk about Derek Stingley, and I don't know if you've heard anything different. I mean, I can't imagine he's going to play today.
Highly unlikely.
Yeah.
I think. I think they got to figure out a little more things about him, and they're going to do it. They're going to get the doctors called in and kind of get some other people to look at and get some second opinions on it, but I don't think he's going to play today.
We're all in agreement. Derek's not going to play. I think the bigger question is that people have asked, and fairly, in the era of opt-outs and a guy with so much on the line, like, when or do you get Derek Stingley back? And that's another bridge we can cross at a different day. But specifically today, I could ask, how do you compensate? But maybe because we know what's going to happen, right? I mean, Elias Ricks is going to play on the boundary. We're going to see Dwight McGlothern play on the boundary. You'll see Cordell Flott in the nickel, which is his spot. They could move Jay Ward around. I guess it's how much of a drop-off. When everybody moves up a chair, I think Elias Ricks is quite capable of being a number one, but he's not Stingley. And McGlothern, I don't know, is Ricks as your number two. You know what I mean? It's like every time you move up a chair, you're a little weaker at each of those positions.
Yeah, I think cornerback is probably one of the biggest drop-offs on the team. Just going out there to training camp, it's the reason I felt really good about the young receivers, because they were making a lot of plays on some of the DBs that were behind Sting when Sting and Ricks were out there in training camp. And I know Dwight was banged up a lot, but I just think that drop-off is huge, man. Sting's going to be a top 10 pick in that draft, and I really can't point to any of those guys that are backing him up that I can say that and feel really good about it on the roster right now. So they're going to have their hands full today. It's going to be a big step up for them. And then this will be a perfect opportunity to prove me wrong. I would love to see those guys have a great day at corner and shut those guys down, but I just haven't seen it from those guys that are behind Sting just yet.
And the guys that LSU is going to be tasked with shutting down, we'll learn more about them in about an hour from right now. Steve Robertson from Gene's Page, 247 site covering Mississippi State. He'll be with us to talk a little bit about this Mississippi State team. We'll also chat with your weekday partner, Hunt Palmer. Coming up next hour, Shay Dixon of Go 247 in about 15 minutes from right now for a little scouting report. We'll knock out a quick break here in Eagle 98.1 Game Day. When we come back, we'll set the stage for the rest of the day in the SEC and across college football. You're listening to Eagle 98.1 Game Day, presented by Home Bank and your Super Chevy dealers.
During times of trouble, hope keeps us calm, and courage keeps us strong. Here in Louisiana, we know this better than most. After all, we faced hardship, but hurricanes and floods never washed away what makes us strong. It's our culture, the spirit of resilience that says rise and rise up again. We'll make it through the tough times, we always do. And Blue Cross will always be here to support you.
Are you a licensed contractor? There's lots of good contractors in Louisiana doing work the right way, but unfortunately, too many unlicensed contractors are working outside the licensing requirements. Working as a contractor in Louisiana requires a license for the company doing the work. The Louisiana State Licensing Board for Contractors wants to help you get licensed to allow you to conduct work legally. It's not difficult to get the license. We can help you. Go to lacontractor.org for more information. Licensed contractors, it's the law.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
During times of trouble, hope keeps us calm, and courage keeps us strong. Here in Louisiana, we know this better than most. After all, we faced hardship, but hurricanes and floods never washed away what makes us strong. It's our culture, the spirit of resilience that says rise and rise up again. We'll make it through the tough times, we always do. And Blue Cross will always be here to support you.
At All-Star Toyota, you get it all. If you're in the market for an all-new Toyota vehicle, come see our friendly and knowledgeable sales team at All-Star Toyota. Located in Baton Rouge at the corner of Airline and Goodwood, we've been serving our community since 2005 by offering a large selection of new Toyota cars, trucks, and SUVs. Get behind the wheel of your dream car and take a test drive at All-Star Toyota today.
This is a house call. This is a follow-up appointment. This is a diabetes checkup. This isn't just more convenient care, it's more advanced care.
Eagle 98.1.
The Ralph's Market College Football Scoreboard. Ralph's Market, where quality and customer service are a family tradition.
Of course, it's LSU, Mississippi State at 11 a.m. from Davis-Wade Stadium there in Starkville, Mississippi. Let's take a look at the rest of the country and set the stage for what's to come. Go through the top 25 where at 11 a.m., number 2, Georgia is on the road in Nashville against Vanderbilt. Georgia kind of rolling a little now through SEC play, kind of regardless of who's playing quarterback for them.
Yeah, Vandy's is that game's going to be pigs to the slaughterhouse, man. That's going to get ugly real quick. I just don't see how Vanderbilt scores in that game.
It's a 35-point line in an SEC game. 6th-ranked Penn State coming off their whiteout win over Auburn. They're at home against Villanova there in Happy Valley. You impressed by Penn State?
Yeah, I am. I think when you play the schedule they have thus far, that's what you want to do. Go out there and win the football games. They've been in some tough battle-tested games, and they came out on top both times, and you want to keep doing that. So I think they got a little more to prove, but I'm impressed so far.
One of those wins, of course, was on the road at Wisconsin. Wisconsin today, number 18, against Notre Dame, 12th-ranked Irish. That's also an 11 a.m. game. That's a neutral site game at Soldier Field in Chicago. It's where ESPN's College Game Day is going to be. Interestingly, Jack Cohn, the Notre Dame quarterback, is former Wisconsin quarterback Jack Cohn. So Jack Cohn going against his former team. Who do you think has the bigger edge? Cohn going against that defense going against their former quarterback?
I always think the quarterback has the advantage just because we know the play, and if you're a good quarterback, you probably got to have the advantage. You can see what the defense is in, and they got to react to you. So I think he knows those guys. He kind of knows the cornerbacks and things of that nature. So I think Notre Dame may pull this off, man.
Spoken like a true offensive guy, siding with the quarterback. I agree, though. I think Notre Dame wins the game today. 17th-ranked Coastal Carolina is at home against UMass. 5th-ranked Iowa at home against Colorado State. That's a 2:30 kick. Also at 2:30 in the SEC, this is the big one. This is the CBS game. 7th-ranked Texas A&M against 16th-ranked Arkansas. The Hogs, they just keep climbing the national rankings. They're at 3-0. A&M just a 5-point favorite. This is a neutral site game at AT&T Stadium in Arlington, Texas. You have a pick on that one?
I got the fighting KJ Jefferson in that one.
Do you really?
Man.
Okay.
Yes, I'm going for the upset today. All my heart and my brain is going all type of different ways right now. My brain is telling me A&M all day, pound A&M, but my heart is like, come on, KJ, give me one. Come on.
I picked A&M in this game, and this is unnecessarily close too many times for A&M, even when Arkansas was through that miserable losing streak. So I believe Arkansas is going to be up. I'm going to be a doubter again on the Hogs. I picked Texas to go rout Arkansas, actually. I thought they'd win and cover, and the exact opposite happened. So maybe it's a fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice, shame on me type thing. But I'm going to have to see Arkansas do it again. The one-game sample isn't enough for me to buy them just yet. 9th-ranked Clemson, also at 2:30. They're on the road in Raleigh against NC State. This is a 10-point line. Clemson always has that one. Every year. There's always that one where you go, where they're sweating it. And that's happened against NC State a couple of times. Maybe Clemson goes and rolls today, but maybe this is the one where you look up in the fourth quarter and you're going, Clemson's losing to NC State. Well, let me find the AC. Oh, it's on ESPN. Good. You don't have to go find the ACC network. You'll be able to find it.
Yeah, they were kind of in a sweat fest with Georgia Tech last week. They didn't just rout them. Their offense was struggling. They couldn't. I was wondering about that first half line. I'm like, man, what is going on over there? And I don't know. I thought DJ Uiagalelei would be probably one of the Heisman contenders at this point in the season, and their offense just hasn't seemed to take off to this point. So normally when you're rolling like that, you're on upset alert. So I wouldn't be shocked either.
You'll appreciate this. It's amazing what happens when you don't have a running game.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
Think about whenever you could just turn around, hands off to Travis Etienne or any of the backs they've had there at Clemson, regardless of Wayne Gallman. Who's that guy right now for Clemson? They're struggling to find it. 14th ranked Iowa State on the road in Waco against Dave Aranda's Baylor Bears. Baylor is 3-0 this season after a struggle last year one under Dave Aranda. 3-0 so far to start the season.
Can't buy the hype, man. I got to see a little bit more, Coach Aranda.
Come on, man. It's Baylor. Can't give them a break. It's freaking Baylor. Let them enjoy their 3-0 start.
I'm going Iowa State.
Brutal. Rutgers also 3-0. Greg Schiano knows how to win up there at Rutgers at Sunge, State University of New Jersey. Rutgers is at 19th ranked Michigan. Wolverines also 3-0. This feels like it's kind of this could be one of those prove it weeks. So a lot of teams made it through the early part of their schedule. Now you're starting to get into conference play. Neither team has played a Big Ten game yet. Rutgers at Michigan. Michigan's about a 3-touchdown favorite in that game, though. Don't sleep on Rutgers, though. Schiano's a good coach, man.
I'm going with the fighting khaki pants in this one, man. I think they're going to find a way to get it done. This is every year it seems like they're about to turn the corner, then they lose a game you thought they had no business losing. So this is set up for them to do one of those things. So if they win this one and kind of keep rolling, then we'll see what Michigan has to bring this year.
That's a 2:30 game on ABC. At 3 o'clock, Auburn is on the SEC Network against Georgia State. Stanford against host 24th ranked UCLA at 5 o'clock. That's on the Pac-12 Network. Both teams 2-1. UCLA off the Fresno State loss last week. Somebody sat here last week, Jay Hill, and was like, take the points with Fresno State. Somebody told you to take the points with Fresno State last week. I didn't think they'd pull the upset, but UCLA will see if they can get a bounce back this week.
Yeah, I'm starting to figure out why UCLA is still ranked. I guess there's just everyone respects Fresno State. Obviously, they're better than people think, playing Oregon type, but how is UCLA still ranked? I just can't figure that out, but I think they found a way to get it done today.
If they lose on the farm, they won't be. Tennessee, this is a 6 p.m. game on ESPN. Tennessee in Gainesville against 11th ranked Florida. Florida's a 19-point favorite in this ballgame. Anthony Richardson should be good to go for the Gators. I'm mostly curious just to see how Florida bounces back after sort of an emotional dump last week, losing that close game to Bama.
Yeah, I think just Tennessee just not enough. I think Florida, honestly, they're right. They have everything in front of them that they want to do. If they can continue to win, find a way to beat Georgia, they're right there in the thick of things. So this can't be a game where they have a letdown and fool around and lose this game. So I think Florida goes out there and handles business.
At 6 p.m. on FS1, Nebraska visits East Lansing. They'll take on the Spartans, 20th ranked. Michigan State, of course, big road win last week in South Beach against Miami. At 25th ranked, Kansas State is on the road in Stillwater against the Oklahoma State Cowboys. This week was the 14th anniversary of Mike Gundy's "I'm a Man, I'm 40" rant. It's always fun to see that pop up on Twitter and make the rounds again.
That was gold, man. Now, what is he rocking, the mullet now or something?
Rocking the mullet now, man.
Rocking the mullet now. You gotta love it.
He was high and tight back in 2007, man. It's amazing. He ain't 40 no more, bro. He's quit. Top-ranked Alabama tonight on the SEC Network. They're at home against Southern Miss. West Virginia is on the road in Norman against 4th-ranked Oklahoma. That's the ABC night game. You think West Virginia might have a chance to pull that one out? Oklahoma, it's 17-point line. West Virginia last week against Virginia Tech. I'm curious to see. Oklahoma had no business struggling with Nebraska. It's given me pause with Oklahoma so far.
Yeah, I mean, they did the same thing with Tulane, and that's Tulane.
Oh, you're right. Yeah.
So, yeah, I think Oklahoma's a weird team this year. Really hard to predict. Their defense shows up a couple times, and their defense doesn't show up. And then Rattler might turn it over 2 or 3 times, or he might not. So it's really hard to really say with them what team's going to show up on a particular Saturday. But to me, they're a little too high up there for me right now. They got to show me a little more.
10th ranked Ohio State, they're at home tonight against Akron at 6:30 p.m. Also at 6:30 on the ACC network. 21st ranked North Carolina visits Georgia Tech. Just 1-2 on the season, but gave Clemson that scare a week ago. This might be an interesting one to keep an eye on tonight. Is BYU for real? They host South Florida tonight. It's 9:15 on ESPN2. I love the late games because it gives me the opportunity to stay up to like 1 o'clock just watching college football. So I was watching that last week when BYU upset Arizona State. So we'll keep an eye on BYU tonight. 15th ranked and 3-0 in the country. 3rd ranked Oregon, they're back at home tonight against Arizona, which is 0-3. That's a 9:30 kickoff on ESPN, so you got a little Pac-12 after dark. And yesterday, the aforementioned Fresno State Bulldogs ranked 22nd in the country coming off their win over UCLA. They beat UNLV there in Fresno 38-30 last evening. One quick run through the day in the Southeastern Conference. We've already told you some of those games that are taking place today around the SEC. You know, of course, LSU and Mississippi State kick it off at 11 a.m. Also at 11 a.m., Missouri on the road in Chestnut Hill against Boston College. A little intersectional matchup there with Missouri at BC. I have nothing to offer about Boston College. Do you?
Not much. I thought Missouri should win that game. I don't really know much about Boston College this season. Haven't really made too much noise, but I got Basilak in the crew in that one.
That's a virtual pick 'em. Missouri's a 1-point favorite in that ball game, so see how that might go. All right, it's and the other one in the league tonight is Kentucky on the road at South Carolina. That's ESPN2. I'm putting Kentucky on upset alert tonight. Trap spot, look ahead spot with Florida coming to Lexington next week, which is a massive game. I still think Kentucky's going to win this ball game in Columbia. South Carolina gets Luke Doty, their starting quarterback, available for this game. It's going to be packed. They're going to be doing sandstorm. People are going to be losing their minds. I think that's going to be a competitive ball game in Columbia tonight.
That's the first thing I thought when I saw the line. I was like, what does Vegas know about this? Because it's South Carolina, and that's a little close. And they weren't putting their respect on Kentucky. So, man, yeah, I think it's gonna be a close one, but I think the Wildcats pull it off.
All right, so what's going on around college football today? Of course, we'll be off air before any of it kicks off, so just setting a stage of what to watch. It'll be an interesting trek until December with the signing period, and Shea Dixon of Go247 is going to join us next. Talk a little recruiting. Stick around here on Eagle 98.1 Game Day.
Oh, hey, what's up? It's Big V and Bubba, 100.7 The Tiger Morning Show. We'd love for you to join us every weekday, 4 a.m. till 9 a.m.
Yeah, everything you want in a show. Country music. We got laughs. We got celebrity in-studio guests. We just need you.
Join us every weekday morning, 4 a.m. to 9 a.m., right where it all started.
That's right. Louisiana's country station, 100.7 The Tiger.
Service Mastery Elite create clean, disinfected work environments. As a local business, we take pride in serving the New Orleans and Baton Rouge areas. Our cleaning protocols follow CDC and OSHA standards for healthcare settings, offices, senior living, restaurants, and industrial plants. Contact Service Mastery Elite to get your operation ready for reopening with germ disinfection cleaning. Service Mastery Elite, the trusted choice in professional cleaning since 1996.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
The saying goes, desperate times call for desperate measures. But Louisiana heat is nothing to play with. AC outages hurt everyone. Don't be a victim. Call Accutemp and schedule your maintenance check today.
During times of trouble, hope keeps us calm, and courage keeps us strong. Here in Louisiana, we know this better than most. After all, we faced hardship, but hurricanes and floods never washed away what makes us strong. It's our culture, the spirit of resilience that says rise and rise up again. We'll make it through the tough times. We always do. And Blue Cross will always be here to support you.
Starting in 1974, Central Plumbing has served Baton Rouge and surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Through these tough and trying times, we want you to remember that the Payne family is here to continue to support and serve you. As a multi-generational business, there is no job that is too big or too small. Residential, commercial, industrial, hospitality, we're here for anything you need. 24/7, 365. Give us a call, 225-925-8552.
I'm Jay Ducote. I grew up learning how to cook at LSU tailgate parties and right in my own backyard. And I created JD's Louisiana Products to bring that Louisiana flavor.
Eagle 98.1. Eagle 98.1 Game Day. Recruiting with Shea Dixon of 247 Sports.
Presented by AccuTemp. AccuTemp, your AC and electrical experts.
We welcome aboard Shea Dixon of Go 247. Talk a little Cruton. Shea, how are you, man?
Oh, I'm doing great. I'm wide awake. Set the alarm early this morning, and as he just said when he was patching me in, I said, "What's up?" He said, "I think just us."
I think, yeah, I'm wide awake. I'm not wide awake. I set the alarm early. I had coffee. I'm still not awake. The mornings, it's amazing. The older you get, the harder it is to be a morning person. I used to be able to just pop right up and roll and go, but man, morning radio, definitely not my bag. Let's talk some recruiting, Shea. First SEC game. Do we have any idea about, we always talk about visitor lists for home games. What's it like for a road game?
I mean, it depends on the matchup and who you're playing, right? I mean, if they're playing a Florida or a school like that, Alabama, you're going to get a bunch of big headliner name-ins, but they're not really going head-to-head with State for a lot of guys. This will probably be one of those games, and I'd kind of been reading up and talking with the Mississippi State guys at 24/7 this week that you mostly expect it to be in-state kids who are, driving in and able to say, hey, I can make the game and be there for 10 o'clock when you're walking, doing the victory walk or whatever you're doing in terms of what recruits can go to and pregame activities and all that. So when you're at this early in the morning, it'll be State's commitments and a few of their targets. And for LSU, it'll just be all business.
Shea, what about the way that this season has started for LSU? A little bit of uncertainty and all. What's the general conversation in recruiting circles around this LSU class, this LSU team right now?
Well, that it's the rhetoric of even if LSU's struggling, and that right now it's 2-1, but even when LSU's struggling, they recruit really well. We saw it through the Miles era. We saw it through the beginning of the Orgeron era. Whenever they would stumble, we saw it last year. I mean, 5-5, and they finished with the number 4 class in the country, something like that. So, and who cares what it's ranked? You're seeing what the fruits of that class already in terms of what these true freshmen have been able to do. So nationally, it's just a lot of people saying, well, look, doesn't matter. LSU will be what it is, and they'll continue to have top 5 classes. Now, I will say that you'll start to see, if they start to lose, you'll start to see more and more coaches from other schools turn up the heat. It's already happened behind the scenes. I think the next thing we're about to start seeing is a lot of these LSU commitments, whether they're winning or losing, are going to start being a little bit more vocal about being on board completely, or if they're looking around, perhaps doing that. But so far, from talking to all the kids in the class, after the UCLA game up to now, they've pretty much said, hey, look, phone calls haven't stopped from other teams, but I haven't seen enough to shift where I want to go to college, and that's LSU.
So, Shea, if you had to predict, I know you don't have a crystal ball in front of you, but do you think there's going to be any guys entering the transfer portal after this season?
Yeah, of course. I would think that there would be a handful, and they'll replace those guys. I talked to a source this week that sort of doubled down on what we all talked about a week ago, was they need offensive linemen from the transfer portal, and that's something you're doing kind of research on even right now, of who's in there, who do you think might be in there, whenever the December signing period rolls through and the season ends and guys are leaving. I mean, that's the new part of college football, where you're kind of getting a feel for your own roster of who might leave. You're getting a feel for some other rosters of who might leave. So definitely there'll be some shakeup in terms of transfers and everything like that. And you'll see it even more often with colleges when their staff shakes up in the off season. That's really when your coach in your position room leaves, it's more often than not a guy or two will probably leave with him or go somewhere else or whatever it might be. So, I think there's going to be some shakeup. The good thing about right now, at least, is that the signing class made up of heavily Louisiana guys who are all playing really well right now on Friday nights. I mean, last night had some great games. All of those guys seem pretty locked in, and the rest of their focus in Louisiana, or at least the rest of their focus with these final 10 spots, if we're looking at high school guys, I bet 6, 7 of them come from Louisiana. So if you're recruiting this base, you're good to go. And I think that O's hope is the more you recruit Louisiana guys who you feel great about and that can play here, no doubt, and check all the boxes. But when you get to that conversation of, hey, I'm a year, 2, 3 years in, I'm not playing as much as I thought I would, a guy from Louisiana is a lot less likely to say, hey, look, I'm going to leave. I'm going to go back closer to home or whatever it might be. Those guys will stick it out and know, look, my parents can come to every game. They watch. I'm on the bench. Now I'm on special teams. Now I'm, in a rotation. Now I'm starting. And the whole idea of development, I think, is a lot easier for them to feel patient about it when the kids from in-state.
Shea, the Tigers are at 15 right now. Of course, the hard cap is 25. Shea Dixon's with us. Go 247. It was such an awkward sort of year with COVID, right, for recruiting purposes, where so many times coaches and players never actually met face-to-face. And so for I would imagine a lot of recruits, this high school season might be the first time that coaches are getting a chance to see them in person. Are we starting to see any players maybe rise up rankings or get on coaches' radars that maybe hadn't been seen up until this point or seen as much as they would have liked or normally would have?
Oh, absolutely. I'll give you a case in point in the past 24 hours. So Neville and STM played last night in an awesome game. I mean, it came down to the very end, and I think Walker Howard with 8 seconds left threw a touchdown, and they took the lead and won the game. Obviously, STM and Neville are pretty storied programs and have really high levels of success because they've got a bunch of good players. Well, you look over what you said, Matt, past year in 2020, all the guys on those teams didn't get this, go in front of coaches in camp settings. Coaches weren't able to go out to their games. You think about it, Jack Bash was on those STM teams. He was committed to Vandy before LSU said, okay, yeah, let's make a move on him. We're seeing his junior year in full just on film. We can't even go out and watch him. But you look at last night's game, everybody knows that at left tackle for Neville, you've got Will Campbell. He's a 5-star. He's the man. Well, at right tackle, this guy Zaylon Hurd, who was at Bastrop a year ago playing on the D-line. Coaches couldn't get out and see him. Now he's transferred over to Neville, moved to the offensive line, playing right tackle. He's looking just as good as Will Campbell, but he's a year younger, and he's only got a couple of offers. So the next month, now that people are saying, whoa, have you seen that kid at Neville that's playing right tackle? He'll start stacking up offers. And this is a good case in point. I'll make this one a little bit more quick, but Neville's running back last night, I think by halftime he had 4 carries for 200 and something yards. His name was A.J. Allen. He had been a backup at Neville. As you say, last year, coaches weren't out there. They're not out at your spring practices. They're not out at all these little things where they might be able to get a glimpse of you, or you go to a camp and they get a glimpse of you and say, hey, look, you may not be starting yet, but this kid's the real deal. Well, he wasn't able to do any of that. The only camp he went to was TCU at the end of this summer, and TCU worked him out, and they're great at evals, especially in Louisiana, and they said, whoa, how do we quietly just get this get committed and just move on with it? So they get him committed. I think he's played 3 games now, and he's rushed for 250, 275, and he had 300 and something last night on that team. So kids like that, you go from nobody had offered me, and I got an offer from TCU 3 weeks ago because I went to their camp, to every SEC, I won't say every because that'll include LSU. We'll have to see what they're going to do at this running back position. But the SEC schools are about to come knocking, and that's based largely off finally coaches are able to say, hey, look, we can get you to campus. We're watching your games. We go out and eval you in person, whatever it might be.
Shea Dixon, go 247. Shea, before we get out of here, man, let's we always kind of take a look at the numbers. So Tigers presently at 15 commits. Walk us through where they are right now and sort of a timeline of what they'd like to be at in December, potentially?
Well, you always want to give yourself that wiggle room in December, but we're going to see what this new NCAA ruling does in terms of giving you those 7 spots or up to 7 spots to replace guys who transfer out with other postgraduate guys. So guys who could be transferring into your program from another school or whatever it might be. So that was always what you had to balance. If you're going to be given those spots right now, you can start to focus a little bit more on high school guys. So if all this plays out, we'll talk about that more down the road, but I think we'll see a little bit more high school kids get into the class because of it. That's a great thing. I think it'll be Louisiana heavy, and I think it's going to be O-line, D-line. They want at least one elite corner because you're coming up at the end of the kind of Stingley, and then a year from now, the end of the Ricks era. So there's a few rooms that need to be beefed up, need to be ready for when a longtime starter moves out this year, next year, or whatever it might be. But the trenches, that's where it's at. And look, they have 4 O-line commits now, but they're going to need more than that. And they have 1 D lineman committed. That's obviously not going to work at the very end, and that's not the plan. So they'll add more there as well. Linebacker, I think, will be key for them. But Louisiana, I think Louisiana will be interesting to watch because there's 6, 7, 8 guys still out there who have LSU offers, legit players. And if they're not going to LSU, they're going to end up going to Bama or Georgia or A&M.
Shay Dixon, Go247. He's on Twitter at Shay Dixon. Y'all give him a follow. Shay, thanks for getting up with us, man. We appreciate it.
Absolutely. Happy game day. Hope you guys enjoy it.
Thanks, man. Same to you. It is Eagle 98.1 Game Day presented by your local Super Chevy dealers and Home Bank. What are your thoughts on just the recruiting process and how it's changed, and obviously coming out of a COVID year where a lot of guys didn't get to be seen?
Everything is just a whole new world, man. It's just a different game. I remember being in school, you couldn't put cream cheese on a bagel, or otherwise that was an NCAA violation. It's just
so stupid.
It's different, just a different time. Now you got NIL, now you got the transfer portal. It's just totally different. So I think kids nowadays, they can really, it's pretty much NFL free agency in a way, because if you don't like your situation, and shoot, just hit the portal and see what else is out there. So when I was in school, the only way you're getting off campus is if the coach just hated you. Like, if you had any type of potential, any type of talent, they're not letting you leave their roster. They're going to keep you there, and you're not leaving anywhere.
You could block transfers, and it's a completely different reality. And I don't know how you feel about it, because you and I have never had this conversation, but I'm very pro student athlete. There's going to be something that's going to benefit a student athlete generally. I'm going to be in favor of it. So I don't. Yes, it's obviously complicated roster management for coaches, but I mean, Ed Ogeron makes $8 million a year. Figure it out. And it's not just it's all coaches. I mean, you're compensated. You're an adult. You can come and go whenever you want as a coach. Contracts aren't worth the paper they're written on. Buyouts are paid. 7-8 figure buyouts are paid every year. It's just on the coaches to figure out roster management. I'm for student athletes having the opportunity to find a situation that's best for them.
Yeah, I'm pro student athlete as well. I think what you ask of some of these 18 and 19-year-old kids, wake up, go to study hall. You make sure your class schedule is not during football hours. Go do your classes, and now you got to go get your workout in. Now you got to go practice, and then now you got to go ball out on Saturdays too. So your plate is full, especially for 18 and 19-year-old kids, and a lot of them, what they get out of it is injuries. A lot of them don't get their degrees, and then they're looking back and, wondering what happened to them. So I think anytime you can help these student athletes out and find ways to, get them going and get them graduated, and now they can put a little cheese in their pocket, I'm definitely not going to complain about that.
Was that a Cade York pun because of the Velveeta commercial this week? If you missed it, LSU kicker Cade York did a deal with Velveeta cheese. Like the contract that you actually go sign is really it's just data mining, really. I mean, you don't get any. I think like 12 people actually win a can of Velveeta. That might be the grand prize if Cade York hits a 50-yarder. But either way, good for him, man. I'm all for it, man. Like, there's nothing wrong with Cade York being able to be in a really cool Velveeta cheese commercial, make a little money. Good for him.
Hey, that's what happens when you break a couple Tiger Stadium records and drill a couple 56-yard field goals.
It is kind of surprising, though, that they would go with the college kicker, right? I mean, We love Cade York, but you go into any town in America and you say the name Cade York, nobody knows who that. Well, now they may, but it's interesting that Velveeta went with a college kicker instead of maybe a very prominent pro kicker if there was, or whatever. Anyway, good for Cade York is bottom line. All right, it's Eagle 98.1 game day. Hunt Palmer in about 15 minutes from right now. When we come back, Steve Robertson, who covers Mississippi State, is going to join us, give us a little peek ahead at the Bulldogs. Stick around here, Eagle 98.1 game day.
The saying goes, desperate times call for desperate measures. But Louisiana Heat is nothing to play with. AC outages hurt everyone. Don't be a victim. Call Accutemp and schedule your maintenance check today.
During times of trouble, hope keeps us calm, and courage keeps us strong. Here in Louisiana, we know this better than most. After all, we've faced hardship, but hurricanes and floods never washed away what makes us strong. It's our culture, the spirit of resilience that says rise and rise up again. We'll make it through the tough times, we always do. And Blue Cross will always be here to support you.
At All-Star Toyota, you get it all. If you're in the market for an all-new Toyota vehicle, come see our friendly and knowledgeable sales team at All-Star Toyota. Located in Baton Rouge at the corner of Airline and Goodwood, we've been serving our community since 2005 by offering a large selection of new Toyota cars, trucks, and SUVs. Get behind the wheel of your dream car and take a test drive at All-Star Toyota today.
During these challenging times, we know your healthcare needs don't stop. Cancer, accidents, injuries, and heart disease are relentless. So we are relentlessly innovating to keep you safe, both virtually and in person, connecting you with providers remotely, advancing clinical spaces, providing rapid and accurate testing, social distancing, and certified cleaning protocols. We are Auctioner, and we will not slow down. Auctioner Health, innovating healthcare.
It's no secret, the best oysters in Baton Rouge are at Jolie Pearl Oyster Bar. Enjoy mouth-watering South Louisiana flavor and oysters from all over the country. And don't forget our nightly drink specials. Jolie Pearl Oyster Bar, located in downtown Baton Rouge.
Eagle 98.1. Eagle 98.1 Game Day. Opposing Media.
Presented by ETEL. ETEL, Louisiana's fastest internet provider.
Our buddy Steve Robertson from Gene's Page, good enough to join us here to preview the game, give us a little peek behind the curtain of the Bulldogs. Steve, we appreciate a couple of minutes, man. Thanks. How are you?
Man, I'm doing great. Looking forward to all of our Tiger friends headed to Stark Vegas this weekend.
Man, the 11 a.m. kickoff around here is a little bit of a bummer. How's it received there when you talk about just atmosphere for an 11 a.m. game at there at Davis Wade?
Well, it's awful. I mean, it's like it really keeps the crowd somewhat subdued, and it kind of is reminiscent of the old Jefferson Pilot days, and nobody wanted that time slot because. Right. You want all day to be with your friends and family and kind of make it a big event out of it. And night games help you do that. We really thought, when State and LSU both, we thought LSU still may be ranked and State was 2-0, that we'd have an opportunity for a night game. But, of course, they decided otherwise and put us in that 11 a.m. spot. And, kind of is what it is, but nobody's excited about it.
All right. Maybe that might be to LSU's benefit if it's not a crazy, raucous type atmosphere. But, look, LSU's got a lot to overcome because of what happened a year ago. So, Steve, you saw that game in Baton Rouge, and KJ Costello sets an SEC single-game passing record. How much does this State offense look like that one from a year ago, for better or worse?
Well, I think it actually looks better, but in a different respect. I mean, I think in many ways that ball game was really kind of a byproduct of how LSU wanted to defend the Mississippi State offense. I don't think it'll be the same way this year. I think that Orgeron and those guys will play a lot more zone coverage and kind of force State to methodically work the ball down the field and then kind of mitigate the big play a little bit. But, Will Rogers has been good. We've shown some flashes, but he struggles at times with consistency, and there's at least one quarter every game where the offense really begins to struggle. And, that's really kind of been the deal. Even though State's a play away from being 3-0, you look at that deal and say, they're also a couple plays away from being 1-2. And so it's been a work in progress, but it's far from a polished product, shall we say.
Maybe a thought, Steve, on Will Rogers, the quarterback, because LSU fans obviously didn't get a chance to see him a year ago. It was Costello. So what can you tell us about him?
Well, he's a coach's kid, so football IQ-wise, he's well ahead of, his peers at that age. And he's only got 9 starts under his belt. Most of those are in the SEC because of last year's 10-game SEC schedule. But, he's a real heady guy. He's a competitor, and the guys love him. They play hard for him. You're just talking to the other players on offense, they'll tell you he's a dog. He's a competitor. And, State doesn't come back and win that game against Tech without Will Rogers showing some real moxie late. And he nearly brought him back last week under some difficult circumstances. But they believe in each other. And, he's a guy we think the best football's still ahead of him. But, it's just a matter of him kind of finding, what works and where the holes in the defense are and kind of being patient, taking what the defense gave him. And you mentioned KJ Costello earlier. I mean, he'll make an interesting answer to a trivia question because, he's going to kind of be a forgotten guy because, by the middle of the year last year, everybody was calling for Will Rogers because he was just a little more measured in his passing attempts where, KJ would just kind of throw it up for grabs. So Will doesn't take a lot of chances, and Mississippi State fans kind of wish that he would maybe push the ball down a field a little bit more and make his receivers make a play for him.
Steve, what about those receivers, those weapons that Mississippi State has? Who are those guys that are going to be asked to make plays on Saturday?
Well, Mekhi Polk is actually the leading pass catcher, of the receiving group, and he's outstanding. He's a transfer from Cal and has really come in and kind of integrated and assimilated pretty well. We expect him to be a big play guy. Malik Keith is the guy that was suspended in the first game after the fallout from the fight against Tulsa. But he's State's most physical receiver. But I would say that, probably the guy that is probably the biggest game breaker is Jaden Wally. And he was the guy that kind of rewrote the Mississippi State freshman receiving records last year. And it's the deepest receiver group State's had probably in this generation. Usually you've got 1 or 2 guys, but Leach and Spurrier Jr. and Dave Nickel have made it a real priority to kind of upgrade the talent in that receiver room. So, Will has some guys he can distribute the ball to. It's just going to be a matter of, can they kind of negate some of that LSU pass rush to keep him upright and make that happen.
A couple more minutes here with Steve Robertson, genespage.com. He's on Twitter at ScoutSteveR. You'll give him a follow. So you mentioned the pass rush, which is LSU statistically is leading the nation in tackles for loss and sacks. Some of that, of course, is competition that they've played, but they've done it effectively over all 3 games they've played. So how does that match up work with the LSU defensive front 7 against that Mississippi State offensive line?
Well, there have been few sacks against this offense where, the offensive line has been overwhelmed. A lot of time it's been a byproduct of Will Rogers holding the football too long, or perhaps, teams disguise their coverage just a little bit. He gets to the first and second reads, and it's just not there. And so that's been some of it. But they haven't given up a lot. I guess last week, it was 2 sacks. One of those, right tackle, Scott Lashley, kind of got blown up on a play on a bull rush, but the other one was just a product of Will holding the ball too long. But this is an offensive line. Charles Cross is a guy that people know well at left tackle, projected first-round pick. But everybody else, the other 4 positions, it's somebody playing a different spot last year. Cam Jones, who played left guard, was last year's right tackle. LaQuinton Sharp, this year's center, was a reserve interior lineman last year. Dollar Bill Johnson at right guard was a right tackle at times last year. And then Scott Lashley, transferred from Alabama, was out for the year with an injury. And so it's still kind of a patchwork group that's kind of learning some cohesion. So, they've been good. They're improved over last year, but this will be the most probably the most important test they've had to date.
Steve, this Mississippi State team has been a little Jekyll and Hyde. I think that's fair to say, right? down big to Tech, but then there's the big rally, and then really impressive sort of throttling performance against NC State, and then obviously we saw what happened last week against Memphis. So who or what is this Mississippi State team through 3 games? What is a fair description of them?
Well, I think you've nailed it pretty close. But, it's one of the things that's interesting to me is some people suggest, well, the air raid can't work in the SEC. And then you turn around and there's wide receivers running open every play. And so really what's kind of held this offense back, I think, from running at a high level of proficiency is the maturation of a young quarterback. I mean, the plays are there to be made. So schematically, things appear to be on track. It's just a matter of if Will Rogers plays really well, Mississippi State's going to win the football game. If he plays average or below average, Mississippi State's going to lose the football game. So this offense is going to go as far as Will Rogers can take them because it is so predicated on quarterback reads. Defensively, I think State matches up really well with LSU, even on the outside with Martin Emerson and Emmanuel Forbes, a couple of guys that got All-American mentions last year. And so, I think in many ways the most exciting matchup is Keyshawn Boutte. And then when he lines up in the slot against Jalen Green at the nickel, I think that'll be a very intriguing matchup to watch. And I can promise you that Boutte has Mississippi State's attention. Every defensive assistant coach has mentioned him this week. And so he'll get a lot of attention from the Bulldog secondary.
Yeah, Steve, I've told my audience, I'm resigning to the fact until I see LSU prove they can stop an offense like this, I think State's going to score a lot of points and LSU's going to have to match them. I'm curious to see how this LSU offense fares against Zach Arnett's defense, where they did have a lot of success a year ago. So what is the key this week for that Mississippi State defense in trying to slow the LSU offense with, as you mentioned, a whole bunch of athletes like Keyshawn Boutte?
Well, State's been really good against the run. I know LSU has kind of struggled to get the running game going.
Yeah.
And so I know Arnett really wants to make them one-dimensional and then force Johnson to kind of work through his progressions and hopefully let the pass rush get there. I mean, Tyrus Wheat's a guy from Amite, Louisiana that has been absolutely phenomenal this year. He had a great fall camp. Playing really physical, needs to finish a few more plays. Like last week, Memphis's quarterback ran for his life the whole game, but because State couldn't finish, they would make a big rush and flush him from the pocket and couldn't get him on the ground. And that ultimately, I think, really made a difference in that second half. I think, that gave Memphis a little confidence. And so, State's going to have to get Johnson on the ground, keep them in a third and long situation. And I would expect State to run blitz a lot in the early downs to kind of put LSU behind the chains if at all possible.
Hey, Steve, last thing. Actually, 2 more things quickly. One, we neglect special teams so much. Cade York is sensational, probably the best kicker in college football. What about State? How are they in special teams if it comes down to, spread's 2.5, so if it comes down to a kick or a special teams play?
Well, Brandon Ruiz is a guy that we thought had a chance to be an all-SEC kicker, and he tweaked the back against NC State. Didn't play last week, but Scott Goodman did. He's 7 of 9 with touchbacks on his kicks, and then Nolan McCord is 2 for 2 in relief, and I think 39-yarder and a 35-yarder. And so, they're pretty solid in that respect. The return game is really good for State, and that's one thing you look at, with LSU. 19 kickoffs this year, and I believe 15 of them have been touchbacks. And so Tulu Gurpin is the guy that Memphis tried to neutralize last week because NC State found out the hard way that, that's a guy that can take it back and put you in a deficit pretty early. And so I do think special teams are important in this game and because there's going to be a lot of yardage gained or lost. And I know LSU has struggled at times in punt returns with that. So there's those invisible yards in the game. But, State changed punters last week, and you've got Archer Trafford, a guy that had a 57-yarder last week and 42.2 average in relief of Tucker Day. And so Matt Brock does a really good job managing that group. They've got some depth there, but, Nolan McCord hadn't had to take a kick. It's kind of a high-pressure kick. So how will he respond? That kind of remains to be seen.
What's the blueprint, Steve? If State wins the game and moves to 3-1 on the season, what's the blueprint?
Well, they can't go out there and turn football over for one. They've got to be able to manage the game and not give LSU the short field, and they got to prevent the big play on offense. I think this game will be won or lost on Mississippi State's ability to move the football against that LSU pass rush. I know the secondary has had some issues at times, but Ed Orgeron has kind of suggested they're going to do some things differently to try to confuse Will Rogers, and so I think that's where the game's going to be won or lost. I think State matches up pretty well with the LSU offense. I don't think it's going to be a barn burner of a game like we saw last year. I don't think it'll be that 44-34 type thing. I think it'll probably be a game in the 20s, and I think that's probably where Mississippi State needs it to be in order to win.
I still owe you a fleur-de-lis next time you're in town, man.
Let's make it happen. We'll see you, Matt.
During times of trouble, hope keeps us calm, and courage keeps us strong. Here in Louisiana, we know this better than most. After all, we faced hardship, but hurricanes and floods never washed away what makes us strong. It's our culture, the spirit of resilience that says rise and rise up again. We'll make it through the tough times, we always do. And Blue Cross will always be here to support you. To the heroes who are working tirelessly to care for our communities, we thank you. We will never forget the countless hours you dedicated on the front lines, choosing to risk your own health to fight for our friends, neighbors, and family members.
I mean, you guys are out on the front lines fighting it.
We are grateful for your heroic acts and unwavering spirit. Together, we are overcoming this adversity and make our state healthier and more vibrant again. Ochsner Health.
The saying goes, desperate times call for desperate measures. But Louisiana heat is nothing to play with. AC outages hurt everyone. Don't be a victim. Call AccuTemp and schedule your maintenance check today.
Eli's always been into grilling. It took us a while to see it, but the signs were there.
What are you doing, Eli?
I knew grilling was my thing. I have been talking about it throughout my career.
Happy with the results?
I am. Got the new grill from barbecueguys.com. It performed great.
My advice, as I always told my boys,
do more of what you're born to do.
Eagle 98.1. Eagle 98.1 Game Day.
Hunt and Hill on Game Day. Presented by First South Farm Credit. First South Farm Credit. Financing farms and land since 1916. Hunt and Hill is heard weekdays from noon to 2 on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Now, here's Hunt Palmer and Jeremy Hill.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Eagle 98.1 pregame show. Got my partner in crime, Hunt, joining the scene. Hunt, how we doing?
Did you see the Ryder Cup yesterday? We're doing real good.
See, Matt and I just talked about this. How are you feeling about it? First biggest lead since 1975. How are we feeling about that Ryder Cup lead?
I mean, beat them down. This thing's going to be over by lunch today. I'm going to be in cruise control tomorrow.
How was that? How was that chip shot from Spieth? Did you get a look at that one?
Yeah, but we lost that match, so that's not as much fun.
All right. Tigers opening up SEC play. I know yesterday you felt really good about the Tigers, but what about Mississippi State puts a little fear in your heart?
Well, what they did last year is still burned in my brain. So, it's the same coach on the other side scheming them up. And obviously Derek Stingley, I don't believe is going to play in this game. So he didn't play last year either. They got to stop the big play. Even though I thought that last week the defense for LSU was better, they still gave up 2 busts. And you give up 2 busts in this game, you're not going to be able to get it back as easy. So I just that concerns me.
So speaking of busts, how are you feeling about the matchup between Durante Jones and Mike Leach? We saw what happened when he got matched up with Chip Kelly. How are you feeling about this matchup?
Nervous, and it's partly Durante Jones, but it's partly just so many moving pieces in the secondary. You got Stingley coming out, but then you've got Jay Ward going back into the back, which leaves Cam Lewis going out, and then you move Dwight McGlothern, who hadn't played, coming back in, and all these moving pieces create, connectivity issues and communication issues if you're not able to practice together and you hadn't been out there on the field together. So things can get moving fast, and they've got to be in the right spot. And if somebody's not on the right page because they hadn't played that spot over the last 2 weeks, it can create huge plays for Mississippi State. And I think they'll be looking to do that.
So I gotta ask, how much does Sting being out hurt this defense, or you think it really doesn't matter that much this week?
I mean, it matters a ton. I realize that there's a narrative out there that Derek Stingley's checked out, or he's not trying, or his effort's bad. I think all of it's ridiculous. He missed a tackle against UCLA, but he hasn't allowed a completion all year. I mean, that's pretty good for a cornerback. Yeah. So, he's the best one in the country, and I'd probably rather have him on the field than the next guy. The next man up is a very popular term in football circles, but usually the next man up is not as good, and in this case, he's not. So, yeah, it matters.
So let's flip it up to the other side of the ball. So it's not looking like Cam Wire is going to play this week. How much do you think, having a revolving door at left tackle is going to hurt in this SEC opener?
Well, listen to the coach. He says the left tackles aren't playing very well. So that's not good. It's either going to be Xavier Hill, who started, haven't heard his name very much this week, Garrett Dellinger, who's a freshman who's been uneven at best, or Anthony Bradford, who, just by my untrained eye, is really big for that position. It hasn't been great so far. The good news is Max can look that way because he's left-handed, and you got Dekulus on the blind side. The key for LSU is to get it out quickly. I don't expect this offensive line to magically go out there and dominate in the run game or in the passing game because they hadn't done it for 3 weeks. So now you're stepping into SEC play against a team with some big physical guys up front like they always have at State. Yeah, it matters, but if the ball comes out quickly and those guys can catch it out in space, that's where LSU's advantage does lie.
So if you're Jake Peets, are you abandoning the run game in this game, or are you trying to figure out a way to get it going?
I'm trying to figure out a way to get it going if I'm Jake Peets, but I'm Hunt Palmer, and I'm sitting here in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, going, they're not going to be able to run it because they hadn't run it for 3 weeks. So they'll have to prove me wrong to get that going. But, yeah, they got to try. I just don't think Ty Davis-Price is a match for this offensive line and this system. It's been proven in 3 weeks where he gets about a yard a carry. I think the younger guys who have a little bit more speed, a little bit more wiggle, a little bit more ability to make their own run, give you a little bit more options. So I would lean on those guys a little bit more heavily, but I don't expect that to happen either.
So let's flip it to the other side of the ball. If you're Durante Jones, I know you're not. I know you're Hunt Palmer, but are you sending heat after Will Rogers, or are you dropping 7 and 8 in coverage for most of the game?
They sent heat last year and had a bunch of tackles for loss and a bunch of sacks and gave up 40-something points. So I think I'm going to hang back and play zone like Kentucky did when they allowed 2, and like Bama did when they allowed 0, and like Arkansas did when they allowed 14 and picked him off 5 times. I'm playing zone. I'm sitting back. I'm making tackles. I'm going to make Mike Leach and that offense complete 14 passes to get down the field instead of bringing the house and letting them complete 1 for 65 yards.
So give me some keys on both sides. What do you got for the offense to get this game won, and for the defense, what do you got for them?
Yeah, I think it's the same thing that we've kind of talked about. For me, on the defensive end, it's communication in the back end. I think that's the most important thing. If LSU's in the right spot, they'll make some plays on the ball. They'll make some tackles. They've got plenty of guys back there. It's when they're not in the right spot where the trouble lies. So that the communication back there is vital. On the offensive end, I think you got to stretch the field like they continue to do. LSU's got some great athletes at wide receiver, and Max has got to take some shots. I think that trying to dink and dunk all your way down the field, statistically looks pretty good for completion percentages, but I think the chunk plays are there with the athletes LSU has, so let's let it fly.
All right, so I got to ask you this. Do they fighting KJ Jeffersons get it done today?
I'm pulling for them. Trust me, I need it. I need A&M off the rails, but I don't have any confidence in the Hogs. Look, everybody's high after that game against Texas, but they're going to try to run it for 300 again today against A&M, and I just don't see it against that defense. And I don't think Zach Calzada is all that great shakes, but I think that A&M's got more playmakers on the offensive side of the ball, and I think they'll do enough, as they usually do in this game, to win it by about a score.
All right, so tell people where they can tune into you pregame and postgame.
Yeah, we're on the LSU Sports Radio Network. You can catch us on the airwaves there. We're on Facebook. If you want to look at 3 ugly guys on a couch talking football, you can check us out on the Facebook stream. And we'll be at Cards and Culture over in Perkins Row. It's a really cool spot. I don't know if it's your game watching spot, but you've got Saturday afternoon off this weekend, which is rare in LSU football season. So if you're looking for something to do this afternoon, head on by Cards and Culture. A ton of awesome memorabilia. Some Chris Bryant autographed cleats, which I love. They're red and blue, but now he plays for the Giants, which is sad. But it's a really cool spot. A lot of great stuff, a lot of great art. So swing on by Perkins Row after the show and check it out.
Appreciate some time, Hunt. I'll see you Monday.
All right, guys. See y'all.
Later, Hunt. Hunt with the red and blue Cubs, Chris Bryant cleat drop. Of course, that's what he's going to get to. And then he poo-pooed Spieth's shot. Spieth has this amazing shots. Yeah, well, they lost that match. Ryder Cup. I know you're going home to watch the Ryder Cup today, aren't you?
Oh, God, no. Not today. Not today. Maybe in the off-season when there's nothing else on TV, but not today.
The only thing I care about with respect to international competition is the United States whipping foreigners. So as long as that happens, I'm good. But I really don't care to sit there. But I'll be watching college football all day, as I'm sure many of you will as well. All right, it is Eagle 98.1 Game Day. I'm Matt Moscona. He's Jeremy Hill. We will talk to Jimmy Ott coming up here in about another 15 minutes or so for our little Otter Locks before you place your wagers on today's college football action. Check in with the Ott Father. We'll go inside the stadium. Well, I guess not literally inside the stadium. We'll go outside the stadium because it's such an early kickoff. I don't think Gordy Rush is actually inside just yet. LSU Game Day on CST is coming up here at the top of the hour at 9 o'clock Central Time. So we'll try to catch in with G-Rush before they start that show. And also, Jeremy and I will give you keys to the V and an abbreviated 2-hour Eagle 98.1 Game Day because realistically, we know you aren't going to wake up at 6 o'clock in the morning with us. Stick around here. Talking Tigers is next on Eagle 98.1 Game Day.
The saying goes, desperate times call for desperate measures. But Louisiana Heat is nothing to play with. AC outages hurt everyone. Don't be a victim. Call Accutemp and schedule your maintenance check today.
At All-Star Toyota, you get it all. If you're in the market for an all-new Toyota vehicle, come see our friendly and knowledgeable sales team at All-Star Toyota. Located in Baton Rouge at the corner of Airline and Goodwood, we've been serving our community since 2005 by offering a large selection of new Toyota cars, trucks, and SUVs. Get behind the wheel of your dream car and take a test drive at All-Star Toyota today.
If you're in an accident, a car accident, a slip and fall where you're injured, you need to call an attorney. The defendant insurance company, it's their goal to close the case as quickly as possible and pay out the least amount of money as possible. That's why it's important to call an attorney and call the law office of O.C. Brown.
At the law office of O.C. Brown, we're a family-owned firm. We want to be your law firm for a lifetime.
This is a house call. This is a follow-up appointment. This is a diabetes checkup. This isn't just more convenient care, it's more advanced care. This is innovating healthcare at Louisiana's #1 hospital, Ochsner.
All new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 1 million-mile powertrain warranty. And with Bayou to You, free delivery right to your door. Need repair? Our service department is ready and available to help you today. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
During times of trouble, hope keeps us calm, and courage keeps us strong. Here in Louisiana, we know this better than most. After all, we faced hardship.
Eagle 98.1.
Oh, just finished a good week of work. The guys are ready to go. We practiced very well this week.
We have to get our clocks going, early morning game. We're going to practice here in the morning. I'll leave, stay in Tupelo, and then bus on down to Starkville on Saturday morning. Get ready to play.
Ed Ogeron setting the stage for today's 11 a.m. kickoff, LSU and Mississippi State from Davis-Wade Stadium. I'm Matt Moscona. He's Jeremy Hill. We're in downtown Baton Rouge. Do you like 11 a.m. kickoffs?
Oh, I hated it. I hated it. It was not fun. I think I've only played in one of them. We played Texas A&M, and we stayed in Houston. So
that was the 2012 game.
Yeah.
Oh, that was 11 a.m.
So we had to wake up even earlier. So I think I was up at like 4:35 in the morning, just literally sleepwalking, and just remember getting to the stadium. Their sideline just smelled like horse manure the whole way down because they had those stinking horses pregame walking around the field, so that it just smelled awful. So you just wake up pissed off, like, oh, now I got to smell this, and it was just an early one, man. So they're not fun.
Defense had a big day that day, containing Manziel. They A&M moved the ball like up and down the field and kept stalling out. They missed a PAT in that game, and you all rallied. Was it
I think Kadrian Boone had a big diving catch.
Kadrian Boone. I know I'm like, it's not Kayshawn Boone, it's a KB. I'm like, what was Nick? Kadrian Boone had the big day that day. Yeah, that was that was one of those hold your breath. Of course, that was the year Manziel won the Heisman Trophy, and LSU was one of the teams that nipped him that year, 2012. That was, of course, an 11 a.m. kickoff, so LSU's got to do that again. Mike Leach is also taking sort of an assessment of his team so far through 3 weeks, where they've been up and down. They had a big rally against Louisiana Tech to win 35-34. They had a super impressive performance against NC State, where they smothered a team many people thought would beat Mississippi State in Starkville. And then last week, didn't somebody in the show last week pick Memphis to win that game against Mississippi State? Didn't somebody pick Memphis outright for the win? It was me. That's right. Dude, even a blind squirrel finds it out every now and again. Here's what Mike Leach said about his team 3 weeks in.
We're eager to practice, play pretty hard. We've just gotta play together more. We do a lot of good things. And we just as we play together, we improve. And so the more we can do that, the better we'll be.
Yes, you play together, you improve, and you get better. It's very astute there, Coach Leach. But he did also compare this LSU team that he's seen on film to the team that they beat last year in Tiger Stadium.
I think they look quite similar. I think, they're big and fast and explosive and, have all the everybody's heard of in the recruiting process, that were well known because their quality of play. And so, I think they look pretty good in all phases.
When you look at last year's LSU and this year's LSU, are there any discernible differences that you notice with teams? A lot of the same. You return so many of the same guys.
I think on the offensive side of the ball, I think we could be a little more explosive this year just because of all the young receivers, guys that we didn't have last year. But for the most part, and obviously not having Jack Besh, I think he's going to have a year this year. But other than that, not much.
One more from Ed Ogeron, who gave his final thoughts on this Mississippi State team.
Obviously we have to play very well on defense. We have to eliminate the explosive plays. They're going to make some plays. We have to tackle well. It's going to be a battle. We have to play very well on offense. We may have to match scores. Hopefully we don't get in that type of game, but it could be that type of game.
It is Eagle 98.1 Game Day presented by Home Bank and your Super Chevy dealers. We've heard from the coaches. Let's see what the players had to say.
Eagle 98.1 Game Day. Talkin' Tigers. Presented by Louisiana Land Bank. Louisiana Land Bank. They're experts in rural land and equipment lending. Talkin' Tigers. LSU quarterback Max Johnson.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. We take it as a challenge, and we're looking forward to playing this Saturday, competing, and it's going to be fun.
LSU offensive lineman Austin Dekulus.
But the cowbells is for every away game that people might not know is that we bring out these big speakers, bigger than I am, more than like 2, 3, maybe sometimes 4, and they just blare it. And they bring so if it's Mississippi State, we'll be hearing nothing but cowbells every team period, and it's ridiculous. It's you're hearing it in your ears and they're doing a great job of just getting us ready for that and being able to go into that game environment, because really we haven't been in an environment like that since 2 years ago, pre-COVID. So I think we're going to be perfectly fine with it.
LSU defensive end Neil Farrell Jr.
Yeah, we just been working our butts out every week, every day. I get hats off to Coach Jones and Coach Carter putting us in position to make plays and be successful in the game. And I'm just ready to get back out there and work.
LSU defensive end BJ Ojulari.
Definitely an honor to be the SEC Defensive Lineman of the Week. And I just credit to my coaches and to my teammates for helping me achieve that goal for last week.
LSU quarterback Max Johnson.
I think it just allowed our guys to play fast, get in rhythm, just take some shots, whether it was one-on-one or, whether it was running the ball and not letting the D-line get set. I think Coach Peace did a really good job, setting the tempo. And I got to call it faster, whether it's getting the line set or getting the protection set. But I think overall, the tempo helped us a lot.
LSU offensive lineman Austin Dekulus.
I believe that we've been ready since day one going into fall camp, and then especially coming out of fall camp, because when we're going up against the defensive line and how great they've been doing so far, really makes us to where we're already going to be ready for SEC play.
LSU defensive end Neil Farrell Jr.
It hurt us. Me personally, Dre, a close friend of mine on this team. So it hurt me just as much as it hurt him. I know how much he's a fighter, how he waited for his turn, how much work he put in. I just told him, keep guard first and his time will come.
LSU defensive end BJ Ojulari.
It's definitely giving us the attack mentality, widening us out a little bit, think more rush. And again, after the quarterback, it's definitely, I think it was a group idea with Coach Jones and his defense and Andre Carter, the way he coaches and the way he teaches us to attack.
LSU quarterback Max Johnson.
Yeah, I think we did. I think we ended up figuring it out in the second half. Corey did a really good job of, reading the holes, reading the line, and, making plays, whether it was after contact. And we're working on the run game this week, and we're working on the pass game. It's going to be fun.
LSU offensive lineman Austin Dekulus.
Something that's going to stand out with Mason from his play, it's kind of like the same thing that works in Ali's, benefits, that he's a bigger guy. Ali's a big guy, but Mason's a big guy, but he's more of like the hybrid between the D tackle and the defensive end, And a lot of people don't know is that he actually played. I learned this last week that he actually played more defensive end in high school than he played D tackle. So I think him having that big body, but having that fluid natural rush as a DN is going to be very dangerous.
LSU defensive end Neil Farrell Jr.
A player like Mason, he can play anywhere on the line. That's what's so good about him. He's so versatile, 6'5", 6'6", about 280. Can pass rush, can bend, can play double team, single blocks. He really can do it all. So I'm excited to see how he play out there.
LSU defensive end BJ Ojulari.
He's very engaged in the practice. He'll do anything that he needs to do to give us the right look before Saturday. And he's just a great coach, and he taught us a lot of things technique-wise, coming from the NFL and playing in the NFL. So it's just a great experience to learn from him.
LSU quarterback Max Johnson.
I'm just focusing on, competing and getting better. I'm focused on myself. I'm focused on our team. I'm not focused on, anything else around us. I'm focused on getting better this week, and I'm focused on leading our team to a win.
LSU offensive lineman Austin Dekulus.
It's going to be the tempo as well. Just keeping that tempo up, keeping defense on their toes, keep them on their not on their heels, not on their toes, on their heels actually, because we're going to keep on going that tempo, wearing them down until we're just going to pop out with a big play.
LSU defensive end BJ Ojulari.
Oh yeah, Jay Ward, he's definitely a guy you want behind you. He's going to come up with and stop the run. He's going to drop back, make big plays, interception, and everything in the back half of the defense. So he's definitely a guy that we want out there. We can't wait to get back.
Talking Tigers, Eagle 98.1, game day.
Front to Back Boat Service has been family owned and operated for 30 years. And the Sherman family is NMEA certified. That's the National Marine Electronics Association at Front to Back. They are committed to improving the safety and technology of marine electronics through installer training, interface standards. And look, the fall and the winter, it's the perfect time to do that yearly maintenance you've been putting off. Get those parts you've been wanting. So schedule your appointment today at Front to Back, North Airway off of Airline Highway.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals.
But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
During times of trouble, hope keeps us calm, and courage keeps us strong. Here in Louisiana, we know this better than most. After all, we faced hardship, but hurricanes and floods never washed away what makes us strong. It's our culture, the spirit of resilience that says rise and rise up again. We'll make it through the tough times, we always do. And Blue Cross will always be here to support you.
To the heroes who are working tirelessly to care for our communities, we thank you. We will never forget the countless hours you dedicated on the front lines, choosing to risk your own health to fight for our friends, neighbors, and family members.
I mean, you guys are out on the front lines, fighting it.
We are grateful for your heroic acts and unwavering spirit. Together, we are overcoming this adversity and make our state healthier and more vibrant again. Ochsner Health.
Oh, hey, what's up? It's Big D and Bubba, 100.7 The Tiger Morning Show. We'd love for you to join us every weekday, 4 a.m. till 9 a.m.
Yeah, everything you want in a show. Country music. We got laughs. We got celebrity in-studio guests. We just need you.
Join us every weekday morning, 4 a.m. to 9 a.m., right where it all started.
That's right. Louisiana's country station, 100.7 The Tiger.
The saying goes, desperate times call for desperate measures. But Louisiana heat is nothing to play with. AC outages hurt everyone. Don't be a victim. Call Accutemp and schedule your maintenance check today.
Are you a licensed contractor? There's lots of good contractors in Louisiana doing work the right way, but unfortunately, too many unlicensed contractors are working outside the licensing requirements.
Eagle 98.1. Eagle 98.1 Game Day. Otter Locks. Presented by Lofton Staffing Services. Lofton Staffing Services. For over 40 years, providing staffing solutions to make your company more efficient, cost-effective, and profitable. 924-0200. And loftonstaffing.com. Now, here's Jimmy Ott.
We are 2 hours and 34 minutes away from kick in the early games of the Ott Father. Jimmy Ott joins us here for a little Otter Locks for placing wagers. Check with the Ott Father. Otter, how are you this morning?
Doing great. Off to a good start. Nice W last night. Episcopal minus 11.5 covers easily 41-14. EJ with 3 tackles for losses, a pressure, a sack, and a block pass, and a block punt. Go ahead, baby.
Get it done. No surprise, the Catholic High Bears with a rocking chair cover last night over Warren Easton as well.
That's my boy, Daniel Beal, baby. Big Emory Jones, knocking it out. Hey, all of them. Go ahead, Bears.
Otter, let's look at some of the action today. How about Michigan State off of a big win on the road last week down in South Beach? You like Spartans today, huh?
Yeah, the Roto-Rooter stinky line, and usually I fade these. I go against these type of lines because Michigan State looks a little too easy. Hey, give Mel Tucker some credit. You know, like on our campus, Will Wade. The transfer portal's here. Do you want to embrace it, use it to your advantage, or complain about it? Mel Tucker has used it to his advantage. He really got some impactful transfers to make that roster so much better. And they're solid. The running back, the running game is going to be there. This is a guy that's kind of a little bit of a dark horse that's kind of creeping up the odds board as far as a Heisman hopeful. Of course, Corral's way out in front right now. But the thing is, they're just so much better in Nebraska. So why are they only favored by 5? Now, Northwestern, that was one of my biggest fade against teams all year. They can't afford to lose as much as they did. They returned as few starters as anybody in Power 5. They lost 2 first-rounders for the first time ever. And Miami was really dumb. So I'm a little cautious with this line. But, man, this Michigan State, both those 2 games we talked about were on the road. Now they're at home for their conference home opener. I just got to take Sparty here, man. I think that Mel Tucker has done a little surprisingly also, has done a solid job in East Lansing.
I've seen that line actually all the way down at 4, Otter. So some really good value there if you're going with Michigan State to cover the line. And by the way, big shout out to Mel Tucker, who wore shorts on the sideline last weekend against Miami. I don't think I've ever seen a Power 5 head coach in college football wear shorts on the sideline. So, man, you want to own it? You want to add that swag? Roll, and then get the win, too.
That's one a new one on me. No, I've never seen a guy wear shorts.
Bro.
I mean, where are we going from Bear Bryant and the sport coach's hat, huh? To shorts.
I'm all for it, man. And while we're at it, get baseball managers out of the uniform. I don't need dudes with their bellies flapping over their belts out there to go make pitching changes. Just put on a golf shirt and some khakis.
Come on, man. You know, the late great Tommy Lasorda going out there in the unis, baby. Come on,
Don't
man.
need
That's
it.
Beautiful.
Don't need it in my life. Don't need it in my life.
How are we feeling about the Texas A&M Aggies going into Arlington, Texas to take on the Razorbacks?
You know, Jeremy, this is a great example of forget the reputation, forget the preseason rankings. Let's just pay attention to what is happening on the field this year. And the only thing that was misleading about the Texas-Arkansas game was that Arkansas had to settle for 3 field goals in the first half, and then Texas got 2 garbage time touchdowns to make it somewhat respectable. Now they have a chance to beat A&M. Southwest Conference, that rivalry, that nastiness is still there. They're the better team. I mean, A&M struggled to beat Colorado. Colorado put up a whopping 63 yards of offense last week against Minnesota and P.J. Fleck. I mean, this is, come on, man. Arkansas is the better team. I'm a little concerned they might be without a lineman or two due to injury, but I'm all over Arkansas. I think the better team. Money line, +5. I'm all over the Hogs.
Jimmy Ott's with us, a little Otter locks. He likes Michigan State, likes Arkansas. What about the one where a college game day is today? You got Notre Dame against Wisconsin, and the Badgers favored in this ball game. What do we think here?
Wisconsin's the best team in Power 5 as far as first downs, margin of first downs, 29-11 in the loss against Penn State. 3 times inside the 10-yard line, netted 0 points in that game. It was a flukish game. And then Eastern Michigan's only score was a 90-yard pick 6, and they dominated that. They had 28 first downs to 3. I don't think that's going to be, a habit where they're just having these, red zone issues every time they dominate. Notre Dame, and look at the teams that they've played outside of the games with Notre Dame. Florida State with Jacksonville State got housed by Wake Forest last week. I mean, Toledo, after they almost beat them, Toledo loses to a mid-major right after. So I'm all over Wisconsin in this one. Our friends at Bet Rivers said 98% of the tickets are on Notre Dame in this one. It'll be split 50-50 with the fans at Soldier Field. Pretty cool atmosphere. I'm on Wisconsin.
So the total number of tickets, 98% on Notre Dame. What about the money though? Any idea what that split is, Otter?
95%.
Wow, that's incredible. Right? I mean, that's like typically whenever you see a number that high, you go the other way. But how much of that is smart money, and how much of that is public?
The smart money came on Wisconsin. A buddy of mine, Jeff Hershot from Las Vegas, when the line came out on Sunday, he max bet. I think it's like $20,000. He put max bet on it and knocked it down. I mean, moved it up from 5.5 to 6.5. So actually, the smart money in Las Vegas is on Wisconsin. The digital money and the public money is on Notre Dame in this one. So classic pros versus Joes, baby. I'm with the pros.
How are we feeling about the Fighting Tigers visiting Stark Vegas? Who do you like in that one?
Oh man, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I really don't know. This is one of several 50-50 games that are going to – you're playing teams like State and Kentucky on the road. You got teams like Florida and Auburn at home. Mississippi State, that's the most misleading box score or misleading final score in all of the country last week. We all saw the call. The SEC apologized about it. And it was just a rough day. They had a rough day in Happy Valley as well, an SEC crew. Stingley's out. That's not good. That's funny. That's where that line should move a little bit with a guy like that being out. but it hasn't. You know, it's so. You know, they're going to throw it 60 times a game. Mississippi State has impressed me a little bit. The 100-yard kickoff return against NC State kind of rattled State and threw them off their game. But Memphis is a good offensive team, and State, they kind of held them in check. I mean, you know, the first score was a 50-yard scoop and score, and then the muff punt that wasn't down that they picked up. State did a pretty good job over the course of the game. Without them, they dominated in the yardage, the first downs, the time of possession. I'm a little concerned, but LSU showed some signs that they could be better. I think this is going to be a really, really close game.
Otter, is it just a light day on your card? Those three that you like: Michigan State, Arkansas, Wisconsin.
I like Purdue. I think Illinois. We were forced to watch that garbage on week 0 against Nebraska, and
you weren't forced to watch anything, but it was football, so I'll take it.
Yeah, Purdue and Illinois has looked horrible since. Purdue's at home. Purdue outgained Notre Dame last week, but they lost a turnover battle. I think I like that spot. I like Dave Aranda's crew.
Okay.
And Taylor. Iowa State, they're just lacking. They're just not. They look like a fringe top 25 team. Nothing like a top 10 team right now. So you're going to lay 7 on the road in Waco. Aranda's team's 3-0 and an impressive 3-0. One of my favorite plays is at 2:30 on ESPN. And Clemson does not need to be favored by more than a touchdown. Now double digits. I'm looking at 10 against anybody. And NC State at home. This is before the season started. This was going to be the toughest game for them, on their schedule in the conference. And I think NC State is a live dog to win that game outright. At 2:30 on ESPN.
Hey, we got a good slate of games today. I love it when conference action starts. October is my favorite month of the year, Otter, and we're almost there, so might as well just go ahead and call this October. So let's hope.
One other one. How about this stat? The last 18 games, the team that plays Alabama, their next game, 1-17 against the spread.
So you're saying take Tennessee in the points today.
Tennessee is hard to pull the trigger on, but here's a spot. And look, Florida looked great. Jeremy, how about Jeremy Jones?
Jeremy? Oh, man.
Hey. He was waiting for it in the break, man.
I told Moscona right before we came on. I was like, he was right, man. I tipped my cap. I was wrong. I'll take my lick on that one. I was totally off on that one.
Yeah, you're a good sport, man. But how about up front? That was shocking. Yeah. You have to go back to 2007 where Alabama had been outrushed by over 160 yards. That was Nick Saban's first year with McFadden, Felix Jones, and Peyton Hillis and those guys. So no, that was shocking up front how they handled them.
Otto, were you sweating at 21-3?
Of course.
Hey man, if they had Anthony Richardson, maybe that 2-point conversion goes differently, man. I would have loved to see that kid get out there and run around a little bit, man. They actually would have had a chance maybe to pull that upset with him. Who knows? All right, Otto.
Yeah, man.
No, go ahead. Sorry.
What's that? It's a different kind of a schedule today, but a good one. So when you guys are off, after 2:30, man, it's got a lot of good games the rest of the way. And so I think it's a fun year in college football because all the big boys, all the regular participants in the college football playoff, all are down. Yep. Ohio State gave up 500 yards to Tulsa last week. I mean, Alabama got outgained by over 100 yards. I mean, Clemson had the Georgia Tech had first and goal from the 3 in a one-possession game late in the game. And, and Oklahoma is, barely beating Nebraska and Tulane. So I think this is a year where maybe an Ole Miss, maybe an Oregon. I mean, really new blood to get into the college football playoff.
I agree, man. It does make it more exciting. Parity is a good thing. Jimmy Ott, Otter Locks, good enough to join us here. Of course, Game Time with Jimmy Ott, weekday evenings at 6 p.m. on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Otter, who do we have to thank for Otter Locks?
Lofton Staffing Services. I mean, does every building around town have a help wanted sign?
Yeah.
I mean, call Lofton Staffing Services at 924-0200. They have been helping with staffing services for over 40 years. Bart Lofton and his brother at Lofton Staffing Services, 924-0200. Enjoy it, guys.
All right.
On the matches, baby.
All right, man. Enjoy the day. That is Jimmy Ott. with a little Otter lock. So Otter gave you Michigan State, Arkansas, Wisconsin. He likes Purdue, Baylor, NC State, and a tough one to lay money with Tennessee. But, man, you get 19.5 with the Vols. I know they're on the road. But, for me, Jeremy, this is one of those weeks in college football where I look and I go, so much of this is about psychology. And, this as college athletes, man, you cannot be at your best every single week. It's just not possible to get up and in the NFL, it's a completely different reality because you're a professional. You have to go play your game. But you look at this, and it's like you have ebbs and flows in a season. How does Florida bounce back after a really emotional loss last week in a game where they were right there? I look at Mississippi State, really disappointing loss last week against Memphis, a lot to prove. Is this an up spot for Mississippi State against LSU today? That's just that sort of storyline abounds throughout. Look at Notre Dame, Wisconsin. Jack Cohn, who was Wisconsin's quarterback, was basically cast aside. Now he's Notre Dame's quarterback going against his former team. You don't think there's a lot of emotion in that game today? This is one of those days where those types of storylines abound all throughout college football.
Yeah, I remember that yesterday when Matt went back to Georgia and that crowd was just ruckus. It was just absolutely nuts, and everyone knew what Mettenberger was coming to town to do. We couldn't get it done that day. We know the team, the offense especially, we wanted to get that done for them. But there's a ton of storylines just like that in college football, especially with this transfer portal thing. It's going to be all that all the time now. So it's just going to be a great day of college football, and I can't wait to tune in.
It is Eagle 98.1 Game Day presented by your Super Chevy dealers and Home Bank. We're going to get some keys to the V coming up. Stick around. We're handing it off in about 20 minutes to the LSU Sports Radio Network right here on Eagle 98.1 Game Day.
During times of trouble, hope keeps us calm, and courage keeps us strong. Here in Louisiana, we know this better than most. After all, we've faced hardship, but hurricanes and floods never washed away what makes us strong. It's our culture, the spirit of resilience that says rise and rise up again. We'll make it through the tough times, we always do. And Blue Cross will always be here to support you.
I'm Jay Ducote. I grew up learning how to cook at LSU tailgate parties and right in my own backyard. And I created JD's Louisiana products to bring that Louisiana flavor to you at home for your backyard cookout. JD's Louisiana barbecue sauce, Louisiana molasses mustard, spicy and sweet barbecue rub, and more are available at your local supermarkets or by logging on to jducote.com/shop. Put in promo code CST for 25% off at checkout.
The saying goes, desperate times call for desperate measures. But Louisiana heat is nothing to play with. AC outages hurt everyone. Don't be a victim. Call AccuTemp and schedule your maintenance check today.
At All-Star Toyota, you get it all. If you're in the market for an all-new Toyota vehicle, come see our friendly and knowledgeable sales team at All-Star Toyota. Located in Baton Rouge at the corner of Airline and Goodwood, we've been serving our community since 2005 by offering a large selection of new Toyota cars, trucks, and SUVs. Get behind the wheel of your dream car and take a test drive at All-Star Toyota today.
This is a house call. This is a follow-up appointment. This is a diabetes checkup. This isn't just more convenient care, it's more advanced care. This is innovating healthcare at Louisiana's #1 hospital, Ochsner.
Eagle 98.1. Eagle 98.1 Game Day, Skull Session.
Presented by Gulf Coast Bank. Gulf Coast Bank, the bank that cares about you.
We roll along. It is a beautiful 74 degrees in Starkville, Mississippi for kickoff today, getting up to a high of 81 degrees. Sunny, sun-kissed, beautiful day there in Mississippi for a little SEC action with the Tigers and the Bulldogs. You got to play in Starkville. What's it like playing in that venue?
I'll tell you one thing. Those cowbells are annoying. They're just super annoying. But just like I was telling Hunt, you start fast, you pop a couple touchdowns, they end up putting those things in their pockets real fast. So you got to get to a fast start out there. Otherwise, they're going to get those cowbells going. Their offense is going to start getting momentum, and then you can just feel the tide turning. So got to have a fast start there.
I hate the cowbells. Well, I think it's absolutely absurd that the SEC allows this to go on. Artificial noisemakers are not allowed in any venue, and they make an exception because their tradition is to have artificial noisemakers. In what way does that make sense at all? About 10, 15 years ago, they had this campaign, Respect the Bell, where it was where the SEC allowed cowbells. They were no longer going to confiscate, but the concession is you have to stop ringing once the opponent breaks the huddle and comes to the line. It never happens. I mean, pay attention to it today. You'll see the noise. It'll come down a little, but how do you get 60,000 drunk Mississippians to all agree to stop ringing a bell whenever they got it in their hand? Like, it's just not. It's not practical. I say we say that LSU's new tradition is vuvuzelas. We get the big plastic vuvuzela horns. Remember the World Cup in 2010?
Yeah.
But it sounds like buzzing bees, the whole broadcast. I say that's LSU's new or bull horns. Let's get everybody to have a bull horn in Tiger Stadium. That's our new tradition, so it's absurd. It's freaking absurd that they allow these freaking cowbells.
Yeah, they are super annoying, and you hear them, especially as a player.
Oh, yeah, you hear them.
They're
you
not
hear them as a fan in the stands, too.
Yeah, they're not going
it's a cowbell.
anywhere. Yeah, and there's 60,000 of them going at the same time. So you definitely hear it. It's super annoying, but there is a way to fix that, and that's starting fast. Let's go, Max Boy. Let's get this thing rolling.
All right, so noise, you're going to have a little bit of a shakeup on the offensive line. Ed Ogeron on Thursday evening after practice was asked for an update on left tackle and if they named a starter yet.
Not yet. We're still going to look at it. We're going to look at practice. We're going to make a game day decision. Garrett Dellinger, Anthony Bradford, those two guys are fighting for it right now. Cam Wire practiced a little bit today. We're going to see how well he is on Saturday morning.
Dellinger is the true freshman who probably projects as a guard or a right tackle, but may get that opportunity at left tackle. Here was Ogeron elaborating a little more on Dellinger, the freshman from Michigan.
I really love him. I think he's a natural right tackle or guard. Big, strong guy. Great young man. Never says a word. Great student. Very smart. I think he's going to be an excellent lineman there.
So, all right, I'll ask you, unsettled at left tackle and offensive line that has certainly struggled this year. There's no doubt about that. What's your feeling about what they should do today at left tackle?
Man, that's a tough decision, but I would try Bradford there. He's a big kid, big, strong kid. Worried about him a little bit in pass protection, but we've been chipping a ton with Jack Best and chipping a ton with the running back to give those guys some help on the outside. So I want to see Bradford out there because I think he can give you a little more push in the run game, and that's something that I think this offense could use tremendously.
Do you think it matters that Max is a left-handed quarterback? So typically we put so much emphasis on left tackle because you're protecting the quarterback's blind side. With a left-handed quarterback, he can see the rush.
Yeah, it makes a difference, and I think you've kind of saw the pass Max threw 360 pass he threw, and then when we spent out last week and just kind of run into a rusher. It's just those are all things that if you trust your tackles, you don't do that. You kind of just sit in the pocket and you relax and you're calm. So I'm sure Coach Peets is making sure that he stays relaxed and climbs the pocket a lot more, but you definitely have to pay attention to that left tackle. It's not as big with a left-handed quarterback, but you got to have a stalwart over there. Otherwise, things are going to get ugly real quick.
So LSU, we've focused so much on that offensive line, and I'm curious your thoughts today if it's a game where it's going to be more important for LSU to establish a line of scrimmage and run the football. I'm asking a running back this question. or make plays in the passing game, because it does feel like, especially without Stingley, I mean, I've mentioned this. I looked at the total of 55, and I think this game goes way over. I think State is going to score into the 30s. It's Mike Leach against Durante Jones, and in my mind, you don't get the benefit of the doubt. You have to earn the benefit of the doubt, and Durante hasn't done that yet. And we've seen him against one elite play caller, and it didn't go great against UCLA. We saw what Leach in this offense did a year ago against LSU. So, and now you take Stingley out of the equation. I'm assuming State's going to score, so it's going to be that kind of game where LSU is going to have to score with them. So, more important, making plays in the passing game or finding a way to establish the run?
I think this week you got to make plays in the passing game.
The running back says the running game's not important.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's not important, but I think you gotta do what your roster does well. And right now they're not getting pushed, and so you can't afford to just throw plays away. If you're running inside zone and you're running some run plays and it's just not going anywhere, you're getting tackled for loss, you're getting 1 and 2 yards. You're gonna find yourself hearing a lot of cowbells on third down, and it's gonna be really tough to convert those. So I think for me, continue what you did last week, spread Jack Betch out. And hit them quick on those little 5-yard stop routes and make them get outside the box. And once they get outside the box, then you can sprinkle in some run plays too. But just to think we're the old Les Miles teams of old and we're just going to pound it down your throat, you're not going to see that.
This team isn't that. But they have gotten creative in the running game. And it is worth mentioning, maybe for those just waking up with us, LSU was expecting to get word, and John Emery's attorney, Don Jackson, said they were expecting to get word either Thursday or Friday on John Emery, and candidly, a lot of people within LSU are very confident that they're going to get John Emery eligible, and they were really assuming that was going to happen yesterday and that he would be available for this game. He was practicing this week and even taking some first-team reps. But apparently Don Jackson, according to a report from Wilson Alexander, said the NCAA wants further clarity about a plan to keep John Emery academically eligible, so until they have that, they're not going to proceed. So this is going to go at least another week. Bottom line, LSU's not going to have John Emery, and they also did not get a ruling on Trey Bradford, which they were hoping for this week. So you're not going to have those two guys in your offensive arsenal for this game when they thought they might. They thought there was a really good chance that they would. So what did you see last week with how LSU got creative in the running game and the short passing game?
Yeah, I think they ran some jet sweeps to Kayshawn. I think that's how he scored his touchdown. You're seeing the off-tackle runs with Corey Kiner. They're not just running inside zone with Corey Kiner. They're running that outside zone play from the gun and getting them off tackle. And I think you saw the sweep to Armani Goodwin the week before. And those are all things that you didn't see in the UCLA game. We ran 2 running plays the UCLA game, and it just seemed like we couldn't do anything in the run game. So I think Jake Peets is starting to see, just running inside zone. We're not going to push people around. We got to try and do some new different things, and that's what we're starting to do. So hopefully we can continue to progress and continue to open up this playbook, because just running right at people, I don't think we got the guys to push people around.
We'll give you some keys to the V when we come back to wrap up Eagle 98.1 Game Day, presented by Super Chevy Dealers and Home Bank.
During these challenging times, we know your healthcare needs don't stop. Cancer, accidents, injuries, and heart disease are relentless. So we are relentlessly innovating to keep you safe, both virtually and in person, connecting you with providers remotely, advancing clinical spaces, providing rapid and accurate testing, social distancing, and certified cleaning protocols. We are Auctioner, and we will not slow down. Auctioner Health, innovating healthcare.
The saying goes, desperate times call for desperate measures. But Louisiana heat is nothing to play with. AC outages hurt everyone. Don't be a victim. Call Accutemp and schedule your maintenance check today.
Are you a licensed contractor? There's lots of good contractors in Louisiana doing work the right way, but unfortunately, too many unlicensed contractors are working outside the licensing requirements. Working as a contractor in Louisiana requires a license for the company doing the work. The Louisiana State Licensing Board for Contractors wants to help you get licensed to allow you to conduct work legally. It's not difficult to get the license. We can help you. Go to lacontractor.org for more information. Licensed contractors, it's the law.
During times of trouble, hope keeps us calm, and courage keeps us strong. Here in Louisiana, we know this better than most. After all, we've faced hardship, but hurricanes and floods never washed away what makes us strong. It's our culture, the spirit of resilience that says rise and rise up again. We'll make it through the tough times, we always do. And Blue Cross will always be here to support you.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience.
Eagle 98.1. Eagle 98.1 Game Day. Keys to the Beat.
Presented by Coors Light. Coors Light. Mountain cold refreshment made to chill.
2 hours and 5 minutes away. Kickoff actually 11:07 a.m. officially is when they'll tee it up and kick it off. If Tigers are going to do it today, how do they get it done in Starkville?
Max has to start fast. You see when they start fast, he has a ton of confidence. He plays in the pocket better, and I think the offense just plays all together all the way around for the full game. So starting fast, I think will give the offense a jump start it needs.
You got anything else? Fast start offense?
Oh, yeah, defense as well. Defense, I think, play a lot of zone and keep everything in front of you. Force Will Rogers to beat you, dinking and dunking. Last year, we saw he started a ton of go balls. Everyone was catching a go ball and having a trot into the end zone. So keep everything in front of you. Stay assignment sound, no busted coverage.
Mississippi State is going to score in this game. I'm just resigning to that fact. Like, they're just going to score. They're going to score, and they're going to score a lot. So I think LSU is going to have to keep pace and win that type of ball game. State's defense only allows 74 rushing yards a game. LSU struggled to run. I don't think you're running the ball. So Max you have to make plays in the passing game today. That's number one. And number two, Mississippi State, the best they looked all year was against NC State, and their defense that they forced 3 turnovers. NC State moved the ball. They put up 350 yards offense, but they turned it over 3 times, and hence only scored 10 points in that game. LSU has got to protect the football. I know it's so cliche to say turnovers, but you cannot go on the road in that environment and turn the football over and expect to win this game. So get it going in the air, protect the football, keep everything in front of you defensively, and here's hoping it's a much better result than what we saw last year in Tiger Stadium. It's fun. We're handing it over to Eagle 98.1 Game Day for Musso, for Paulie. We appreciate it. He's Jeremy Hill. I'm Matt Moscona. Go Tigers. Happy game day, everyone.
During times of trouble, hope keeps us calm, and courage keeps us strong. Here in Louisiana, we know this better than most. After all, we've faced hardship, but hurricanes and floods never washed away what makes us strong. It's our culture, the spirit of resilience that says rise and rise up again. We'll make it through the tough times, we always do. And Blue Cross will always be here to support you.
Are you a licensed contractor? There's lots of good contractors in Louisiana doing work the right way, but unfortunately, too many unlicensed contractors are working outside the licensing requirements. Working as a contractor in Louisiana requires a license for the company doing the work. The Louisiana State Licensing Board for Contractors wants to help you get licensed to allow you to conduct work legally. It's not difficult to get the license. We can help you. Go to lacontractor.org for more information. Licensed contractors, it's the law.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a